Hey everybody, it's Tafony here once again. Hope you're doing well. Today we were rambling about the Make Noise Sound Hack Mimeophon. It sounds like this. Okay, before we get started, I need to give a huge shout out, a huge thank you to our good Euro pal Jesse for lending this one to me. Thank you, Passenger Monosynth. I'm trying to think of other names that I might have missed. I'll leave some links in the description this time around. Thank you again. I couldn't do it without the help of all y'all in the Discord, so join that if you haven't already. On that note, the Mimeophon, I did own it previously. I am just borrowing it for today. It was pretty early on in my Eurorack journey, and I ultimately decided that Desmodus Versio was what I wanted out of this space in my rack at the time, but I also never got too in deep with the Mimeophon. I didn't use it in much depth. I don't remember using the Skew or anything like that, so I was very new at that point, and my memory is hazy of it at best, because I don't know how much I even understood it. So on that note, we're going to revisit it. We're going to take a crack at it with the manual, because again, I'm just borrowing this one, so let's check it out. It is a rather large in HP, but it is a delay that enters into the reverb territory. I think it actually does share a lot of DNA with the Desmodus Versio in that way that it kind of blurs the lines between what is a delay and what is a reverb by use of the halo effect and the color. You can really get it into some almost cathedral sounding stuff, and under the right modulations, it can even be like shimmer verb, right? That being said, where we're going to land in the patches today, we're just going to have to see. Like I said, it's been a long time, but I'm starting with this patch, so let's bring that in. So what you have, and we're going to go totally dry for the moment, we have Instro Psych with going into the steady state fade, steady state gate. I want this to be nice and paddy, so I went for a super saw, but I want it to be pretty no frills, not too nasty, so we can focus on the Mimeophon and not get too distracted by it. Now, saying that, I worry that this is a little bit busy of a sequence, so I'll slow it down a hair. Change my low pass gate up a tiny bit. And I think this just sounds nice and juicy, like any good super saw should. And when I think Mimeophon, I usually think running the leads into it for a nice, spacey delay, give it some depth, basically. And when I think of it too, I also have this, I don't know, my instinct is to be like, I remember Mimeophon being a little too pretty for my taste, but then I'm probably like y'all, I watch like every blush response video, and he always like cranks up the Mimeophon into these like crazy feedbacky, distorted, nasty sort of places. So hopefully we can get to that today, because I wasn't able to get to that when I owned it previously. So bring it in. Again, this is just the dry. Bring in the wet. So mix knob at the top. I'm sending a clock to this clock input, but you don't have to. You can manually set your clock time, but while you do have it, it works as a clock divider, so you can multiply it on the left or divide it on the right. And you also get CV control over that and a micro timing input. I know people love their tape warbles. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but then I haven't really spent too much time trying to make myself a fan of it, so maybe today that'll change. I am becoming something of a tape fan, though. Through some of these videos, I've kind of grown to appreciate it now. I want to let that sing out for a little bit. I probably wouldn't mix in delays that wet normally, but what I do want to do, just to get us started before I get into too much depth on the zones and modulating them, I want to try and get okay, so let's go fully wet, so we don't have to be too concerned with whether the clock's lining up, if our repeats are too long, because I just want to show you the colors. This acts basically like a filter, I believe. I don't think it's actually like a filter emulation, but I know it sort of ends up kind of making it more muddy in a nice way, in a like EQing your repeats, right? How do you want to color said repeats? Well, I kind of want to go low pass on them this way. And that's, I find you can go like super clean, but I wouldn't. Like, you want your repeats to be unique, right? Use them as an opportunity to add some depth, add some different frequencies to your patch, because if it's just the same thing, it just kind of sounds like a straight up echo, right? Which is what a delay is, but again, this gets into that reverb territory, which I love too, right? And this can sound like a techno song too, in the best of ways. On that note, what you do get with the large size of this module is 10 inverters on every input, basically. So if we go all the way down, and I'll use my 10 inverter, you can see this isn't actually an LFO. I'm actually sending envelopes just because of the weird way in which my case is set up at the moment, but we're going to come in here and send positive voltage to open up the proverbial filter. Maybe I'll just open the knob itself as well. So that's the color. And I think if I use the 10 inverter negative, I can send that voltage negative too. Yeah. So you get some nice warbly, swooping, almost phaser-y stuff when you get really crazy with it. If we open it all the way, and maybe not all the way. So here's dry. And here's how that color processes it. And I think you would be remiss to miss out on using that. Let's just turn it down even more and use the modulation to send it positive. So that sounds really nice. Let's open it up all the way and send negative voltage in. I want to talk about the halo. I'm doing this actually kind of in the backwards way the manual describes things, but to me, I feel like the way you color your repeats is the first thing you should be thinking about before you start doing it, because when you're in reverb territory, you might want a lot more repeats than you would like a simple 2-tap delay or something, right? So if we go in, I'm going to take this one out. We're going to keep our color completely open, and then halo. So halo is supposed to add stereo depth. Let's hear that. I hear it, and I hear it introducing feedback, right? And from memory, I remember this turning it more into reverb territory. So let's take that color down now. Bring my modulation back in of the color. I don't know if... Okay. And I can modulate the halo, but I don't get an attenuverter. Let's hear how that sounds. I mean, I get why they do that, because I feel like you want filter sweeps over modulation, but halo, I'm inclined to just crank it up. Let's bring in some of the dry mix. I am gonna, probably for the most of this video, do a tasteless amount of wet mix, just so you can hear what's going on, right? So we got that warbliness going, which I just love. And so on that note, if we change our clock division, there is infinite combinations of things that can be done on there. So I'm going to try and talk about this in a way that is interesting. Not interesting, that's informative, I guess. So I saw a lot of videos that were sort of talking about the relationship between the clock division, the repeats, and the zone in a way that was really esoteric, and I found really confusing. So the way I like to look at it, or the way I'm thinking about it when I'm going at this one today, is that zone is like a macro control for the range at which the Mimeophon sits. So I'm going to show you on screen right now that there is a color-coded chart, and I'm also going to show you on phone right now. There's a color-coded chart of all the different zones at which Mimeophon, there's a bunch of different buffers. There's 7 different buffers, no, 8, sorry, that is an array starting at 0. So there's 8 different buffers at which the ranges are different, and the buffers are larger the higher you go up in the zone. But remember that the minimum part of that also changes too. So people online describe this in a way that like Mimeophon can travel space and time, and what I think that means in actuality is that there's simultaneous buffer lengths that you have CV options to scan through. So you'll notice that when my rate is here, that when we change zones, it'll increase in division, right? Because the zone is like a macro control for swapping between those. Now, where other people, and again, I don't really care for this explanation, it seems very, the things I don't like so much about Make Noise are kind of embedded in that, but in the zone, I can CV modulate between zones for sort of some crazy movement. So if I turn that all the way wet, we'll just color it a little bit less so it's easier to hear. I'm hoping, so if I turn my modulation off, you hear how it's sitting in one spot, and we'll turn the halo down even though it doesn't sound as good without it. If I turn up the modulation and we start to scan across zones, as indicated by this color here, you start to do time skipping, and again, they describe it as like time travel, but really you're just swapping between buffers is a way that makes sense to me. But again, the time traveling part might make more sense to you. So on that note, the repeats, I think also, you know, when your buffer changes time, when you have a smaller buffer, a smaller repeat is a smaller slice. But as you change buffers, those increase. And you got to also think about how, because the buffers are independent, your repeats don't stop. Right? So as I'm scanning across these different ones, I'm able to constantly feed back, but it doesn't get entirely carried away for that reason. Let's crank that halo up, color down, and this is just what I love. I want to go down to the smallest zone though, because I'm sending it positive voltage through CV. That's where I want to be. I will say there can be some weird sort of skipping things when you're using crazy envelopes like I'm using here. If you're not careful with your modulation, it helps to use that filtering effect to smooth out, to blur the the gaps between buffers that you're kind of mangling. Now, on the other hand, if you want to get really crazy with this, if you want it to be super redonkulous and syncopated, it's also something that is really nice, right? If you're into this sort of thing like I am, let's bring in a little bit of the dry. And you can hear there's some pitch being expressed in that, right? It's like, right? And I like that. So if I send an LFO now, forgive me, this is the ugly cable. I'm out of these. If I modulate my repeats, we start to get into that glitchy chaos territory, which I really like. I think we always want to have a nice stereo image, right? So that's what I remember from Mimeophon, and it does sound a lot better than I remember. Maybe I'm just using it in better context than I was probably running my entire mix through it at the time. Those are the zones. Then on the rate, skew, and ping pong, so the rate parameter controls the frequency of repeats. We did that one already. That's right, we need to do... If channels are not skewed, hold the skew button to engage ping pong. Okay, so this is swap. So if the channels are skewed, hold the skew button to engage swap. The zone window will flash periodically, which it's doing right now, to indicate that swap is on. Swap simply swaps the left and right feedback paths. I just feel like any stereo depth is welcome, right? So if the channels are not skewed, hold the skew button to engage ping pong. So now ping pong's on. See, it's landing in the left channel, probably based on my clock, right? Okay, so that's ping pong. Then there is one thing I also wanted to check out, which I never got into this one. People live for this one. Let's turn off ping pong and then turn on the actual skew mode. Where is skew? Sorry. Pressing skew. Skew is engaged, adjusting the rate parameter skews the rates of left and right repeats, making one channel increase in rate while the other decreases. Whoa, okay. Interesting. So that's why my rate light turned off. Turn skew on now. Oh yeah, so you hear, hopefully. Some fun ping-ponging back and forth, although it's not ping-pong like there was a separate mode, but you hear some alternating of the delay lines in each ear, right? Skew is off. Yeah. Interesting, so yeah, I didn't know that. Again, button combos, not good, no bueno. Things I never checked out previously because they're hidden behind them. And yeah, obviously, probably worth learning something like that. Where were we? So now if we go fully wet, I want you to hear what is going on here. Take my filter down a little bit, turn my halo up a little bit. I really like that. Now this is the micro timing input, and you can use this to create some tape warble. And I know people love that effect. So now I'm using an envelope for this one at my buddy's suggestion because I didn't really like using this when I owned it previously, but people die for this effect, right? And their suggestion was to send like one envelope every 4 steps. So I'm doing that right now. Let's go into a faster zone, less repeats, bring in the dry. Yeah. Interesting. Got nothing but fun. So on that note, let's try and patch in a little bit of color movement. The thing I will say about the Mimeophon that I think I missed out on the first time I had it is that it really has no onboard modulation, which is fine, you wouldn't expect it, but like, I think this more than most modules, it like really needs that modulation to come alive. Like you're really missing out on the depth of the Mimeophon if you aren't, you know, modulating the different channels, the halo rate, the adding some filter movement and stuff. I just feel like probably part of why I bounced off it originally was just like I wasn't exploring any of the depth that it had. On that note, here's the flip, and this will change the shape of the waveforms it describes it as, but again, in classic make noise fashion, I think it's just playing it in reverse to say it's playing in reverse. Yeah. Oh, reverse is cool. Oh, they made it sound like it was some like phase shifting thing. Oh, that's sweet. Okay. And on that note, if we modulate this flip input, can I do that? Let's do. Turn it off. Will it engage? Yep. Yeah. See, this is the thing. It just gets more and more exciting as you modulate it more, right? Now, there is also, I'll unpatch that, a hold input, and from the video I was watching by Unperson, I think this actually shares a lot of DNA with Cloud, so here's dry. If I hit hold, you hear the buffer is frozen. But because Mimeophon runs all of its different zones at the same time, you can hold it indefinitely and cycle through the zones to hear a demonstration of what each buffer was like at the time of holding. And the rate is controlled here too. So again, I'm never going to demonstrate every single micro or every single different opportunity to change things, every single different combination of knob twiddles on a module, but consider how you could use hold. What happens if I flip hold, actually? Oh. So it is affected by the rate. Or did I run out of time holding it? Hold it? Flip it? Okay, yeah, so it will reverse, right? So you can almost do like buffer sampling, right? If I modulate the zone now, I bring in the dry. What if I modulate the hold instead? Go down to the small zone. Interesting. See the different crazy things it's got going on. Whoa. If we send some modulation to our zone now that we have this going. Oh, we got whale sounds. Yeah. And honestly, I think that's Mimeophon at its best, is just modulating the absolute crap out of it, finding those sweet spots that are fun and unexpected, and like getting a fresh sound out of it each time you sit down with it, right? I know delay is an effect that has a ton of power. That is kind of why I've, avoided it in a way too, because it has a lot of depth. But if we modulate our color now instead of that micro timing, and we'll get in a small zone maybe. Repeats all the way up to infinite. Maybe we'll modulate let's go skew again. Let's modulate the flip. Halo up, because I think that sounds really nice. Just into this crazy, like, makes me picture of like a broken reverb in the best way, like somebody's breaking the reverb while you're listening to it. somebody's beating the input to the spring as you're going. I got a bunch of angry emails after the Morphogene video about how I didn't have the patience for it and I should give it another shot and stuff, but like, I don't know, I can see what Make Noise can do that's so great, and I see why people really love it, and I'm just like, I wish Morphogene was as hands-on as the Mimeophon, because this is great. I don't know if I would ever give up Desmodus for it, but does give me pause. Someone was also telling me there's a way in the shortest buffer to like turn this into a chorus. That's also like, it's the classic Eurorack thing that's like, oh, this can be X if you just use this 700 layers of modulation simultaneously in the right way at the right attenuation. You can use it as a chorus. But I have heard that like if you do modulation of the rate at the same clock division that you're sending in and use a super short feedback, you actually can get this like, you know, warbly, in a good way, warbly chorus effect that's just like pitch shifting in either direction, making some like weird slapback unison. Anyway, if you know about that patch, you let me know. I think that's everything that needs to be said about the Mimeophon. I'm gonna run the drums for this as well in this jam here to play us out. Maybe just the drums. We listened to a synth going through it for this whole video, so let's listen to some drums, see how it modulates it. So, hey, I'm Tafony. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that crap that YouTube's always on my case about not promoting to you, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Take care.